A dollhouse. A doll's house is a toy home made in miniature. For the last century, dollhouses have primarily been the domain of children, but the collection and crafting is also a hobby for many adults. The term dollhouse is used commonly in the United States and Canada. In the UK, the term doll's house, a doll's house, is used. Today's dollhouses trace the history back about 400 years to the baby house display cases of Europe, which showed idealized interiors. Smaller dollhouses with more realistic exteriors appeared in Europe in the 18th century. Early dollhouses were all handmade, but following the Industrial Revolution and World War II, they were increasingly mass-produced and became more standardized and affordable. Dollhouses can range from simple boxes stacked together used as rooms for play, up to multi-million-dollar structures displayed in museums. Contemporary children's play dollhouses are mostly in 1/18 scale, while 1/12 scale is common for dollhouses made for adult collectors. History. Miniature homes, furnished with domestic articles and resident inhabitants, both people and animals, have been made for thousands of years. The earliest known examples were found in the Egyptian tombs of the Old Kingdom, created nearly 5,000 years ago. These wooden models of servants, furnishings, birds, livestock and pets placed in the pyramids almost certainly were made for religious purposes. The earliest known European dollhouses were the baby houses from the 16th century, which consisted of cabinet display cases made up of individual rooms. Dollhouses of this period showed idealized interiors complete with detailed furnishings and accessories. The cabinets were built by hand with architectural details, filled with miniature household items, and were solely intended for adults. They were off-limits to children, not because of safety concerns for the child but for the dollhouse. Such cabinet houses were trophy collections owned by the few matrons living in the cities of Holland, England and Germany who were wealthy enough to afford them, and, fully furnished, were worth the price of a modest full-size house's construction. Smaller doll houses such as the Tate House, with more realistic exteriors, appeared in Europe in the 18th century. The early European dollhouses were each unique, constructed on a custom basis by individual craftsmen. With the advent of the Industrial Revolution, factories began mass-producing toys, including dollhouses and miniatures suitable for furnishing them. German companies noted for their dollhouses included Christian Hacker, Moritz Gottschalk, Elastolen, and Moritz Reichel. The list of important English companies includes Silber and Amp, Fleming, Evans and Amp, Cartwright, and Lyons Brothers. By the end of the 19th century, American dollhouses were being made in the United States by the Bliss Manufacturing Company. Germany produced the most prized dollhouses and dollhouse miniatures up until World War I. Notable German miniature companies included Märklin, Rock and Granner and others. The products were not only avidly collected in Central Europe, but regularly exported to Britain and North America. Germany's involvement in World War I seriously impeded both production and export. New manufacturers in other countries arose. The Tyner Toy Company of Providence, Rhode Island, made authentic replicas of American antique houses and furniture in a uniform scale beginning in about 1917. Other American companies of the early 20th century were Roger Williams Toys, Tootsie Toy, Churnhut, and the Wisconsin Toy Co. Dollhouse dolls and miniatures were also produced in Japan, mostly by copying original German designs. After World War II, dolls' houses were mass-produced in factories on a much larger scale with less detailed craftsmanship than before. By the 1950s, 1950s, the typical dollhouse sold commercially was made of painted sheet metal filled with plastic furniture. Such houses cost little enough that the great majority of girls from the developed Western countries that were not struggling with rebuilding after World War II could own one. Standard scales. The baby houses of the 17th and 18th centuries, and the toy dollhouses of the 19th and early 20th century rarely had uniform scales, even for the features and contents of any one individual house. Although a number of manufacturers made lines of miniature toy furniture in the 19th century, these products were not to a strict scale. Children's play dollhouses from most of the 20th and 21st centuries are 1/18 or 2/3 inch scale. Common brands include Lundby, Brenel, Plasco, Marx, Petite Princess, Anticone and Caroline's Home, Barton, Dolltoy and Triang. A few brands use 1/16 of 3/4 scale. The most common standard for adult collectors is 1/12 scale, also called 1 inch or 1 inch scale among adult collectors. There are also smaller scales which are much more common in the United States than in Britain. 1/24 1/2 inch scale was popular in Marx dollhouses in the 1950s but only became widely available in collectible houses after 2002, about the same time that even smaller scales became more popular, like 1/48 1/4 inch scale and 1/144 or dollhouse for a dollhouse scale. In Germany during the middle part of the 20th century, 1/10 scale became popular based on the metric system. Dollhouses coming out of Germany today remain closer in scale to 1/10 than 1/12. The largest common size for dollhouses is 1/6, which is proportionate for Barbie, Ken, Blythe and other dolls 11-12 inches tall, and furniture and accessories such as remnant. Construction. In the United States, most houses have an open back and a fancy front facade, while British houses are more likely to have a hinged front that opens to reveal the rooms. Children's dollhouses during the 20th century have been made from a variety of materials, including metal, fiberboard, plastic, and wood. With the exception of Lundby, 1/18 scale furniture for children's dollhouses has most often been made of plastic. Contemporary kit and fully built houses are typically made of plywood. A medium-density fiberboard tab and slot kits use a thinner plywood and are held together by a system of tabs and slots. These houses are usually lightweight and lower cost but often require siding, shingles, or other exterior treatments to look realistic. Kits made from heavier plywood or MDF are held together with nails and glue. As a hobby, dollhouses for hobbyists and collectors are available in different forms, from ready-made and decorated houses to kits to custom-built houses made to the customer's design. Some design and build their own dollhouse. Simpler designs might consist of boxes stacked together and used as rooms. Miniature objects used for decoration inside dollhouses include furniture, interior decorations, dolls and items like books, couches, furniture, wallpaper, and even clocks. Some of these are available ready-made, some are kits but may also be homemade. There are dozens of miniature trade shows held throughout the year by various miniature organizations and enthusiasts, where artisans and dealers display and sell miniatures. Often, how-to seminars and workshops are part of the show features. Miniature stores also hold classes. Enthusiasts share images online and use internet forums, blogs and other online social media to share information about dollhouses and miniatures. Notable dollhouses. Queen Mary's Doll's House was designed for Queen Mary in 1924 by Sir Edwin Lutyens, a leading architect of the time, and is on display at Windsor Castle in England. When first put on display, it was visited by 1.6 million people in 7 months. It is approximately 5 feet tall, contains 16 rooms, and required 4 years to construct. The dollhouse has working plumbing and lights and is filled with miniature items of the finest and most modern goods of the period. Writers like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Rudyard Kipling contributed special books which were written and bound in scale size. The Stettlimer dollhouse was constructed in New York City by Carrie Walter Stettlimer between 1916 and 1935. Many contemporary artists made miniatures of their art for the dollhouse, including Marcel Duchamp, Alexander Okapenko, George Bellows, Gaston Lachaise, and Marguerite Zorach. It is 28 inches high and contains 12 rooms, and is now located at the Museum of the City of New York. The 68 miniature thorn room boxes, each with a different theme, were designed by Narcissa near Blackthorn, and furniture for them was created by craftsmen in the 1930s and 40s. They are now at the Art Institute of Chicago, Phoenix Art Museum, and the Knoxville Museum of Art in Knoxville, Tennessee. American silent film actress Colleen Moore's dollhouse is called the Fairy Castle. It is 7 feet tall, has 12 rooms, and required 7 years to construct, beginning in 1928. In 2012 dollars, the Fairy Castle would cost $7 million, and when first put on tour it generated $9 million in revenue over a 4-year period. It has been on display since the 1950s at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, Illinois, and is visited by an estimated 1.5 million people each year. The Astolat dollhouse castle was inspired by Alfred Tennyson's poetry about the Lady of the Lake and built between 1974 and 1987 by miniaturist Elaine Deal. It was appraised over $1 million in 2006 and at $8.5 million in 2015. It is 9 feet tall, has 29 rooms, and is on display at the Nassau County Museum of Art on Long Island, New York. The Colleen Moore Fairy Castle dollhouse and the Astolat dollhouse castle were designed with fixed contiguous exterior walls to create a three-dimensional viewing effect. Titania's Palace is on display in Ageskof Castle in Denmark, a miniature castle that was hand-built by James Hicks and Amp Sons, Irish cabinet makers who were commissioned by Sir Neville Wilkinson from 1907 to 1922. The palace is 4 feet 1 inch tall, contains 18 rooms, and required 15 years to construct. It was built in Ireland but was won by Denmark in a bidding war in 1978 at Sotheby's London auction house. Tara's Palace is located in the Tara's Palace Museum of Childhood in the grounds of Powers Court Estate near Enniskerry, Ireland. It required 10 years to build, is 4 feet 6 inches in height, contains 22 rooms, and was built by Ron McDonnell beginning in 1978 after he failed to secure the return of Titania's Palace to Ireland. It is furnished with miniature antiques. Other older and notable dollhouses include the Amsterdam, Netherlands 18th-century dollhouses of Sarah Rothe. One is in the Frans Hals Museum, and one is in the Gemeentemuseum Den Haag, and the dollhouse of Petronella Ortman in the Rijksmuseum Amsterdam. The Rijksmuseum estimates that P. Ortman spent 20 to 30,000 guilders on her miniature house, which was nearly the price of a real house along one of Amsterdam's canals at the time. All 3 dollhouses shows the linen room, kitchen, and bedrooms in great detail. In the United Kingdom, the Upwick Baby House is on exhibit at Upwick, West Sussex, owned by the National Trust. The Nostell Priory Baby House is on exhibit at Nostell Priory, Yorkshire, also owned by the National Trust. The Tate House is on exhibit in the Museum of Childhood in London, England. In Tampere in Finland, the Moomin Museum displays the Moomin House, a dollhouse created around the Moomin characters of Tove Jansson. The house was built by Jansson, Tuulikki Pittilä and Pentti Aistila and later donated to the town of Tampere. The museum also contains dozens of room boxes with Moomin characters, all made by Tuulikki Pittilä. The Dollhouse Museum in Basel, Switzerland is the largest museum of its kind in Europe. Gallery.